Yo, Mortify here. Today, I want to expand upon my previous video and go into what I believe is worth a video. This video's topic, the Usurpers of MGTOW. Point 1. If you've been here before 2015, then you would know that the community has radically changed. Not for the better either. It was warned years ago that going on publications like the BBC and others would be at the detriment of MGTOW, as the mainstream media would misrepresent and mischaracterize MGTOW to support their own agendas. Fast forward to the year 2017, and you now have MGTOW embracing and encouraging the idea that MGTOW becomes quote-unquote mainstream. Any sane, rational MGTOW with fully functioning thinking faculties would be able to at least fathom the monstrous effects of Hollywood and big corp taking a lifestyle, idea, or philosophy and commercializing it to make profit. It degrades it, strips out important things about it, like the protein in a McDonald's meal, belittles it to something insignificant and goofy, thus effectively discrediting it as the representation and connotation of it are dirtied. A great example of this is the rap music genre, a style of music that was originated in the 1970s that was centered around turntables. In the 1980s, it became centered around idealistic beliefs and ideas that were Afrocentric and catered to African heritage. As time went on, in the 1990s, the idealistic African heritage style of rap faded away, and a much more realistic, pragmatic style of gangster rap, talking about the everyday struggle in the hood, took over. The substance remained strong during this decade, giving birth to what are a lot of red pill attitudes towards women in society. This, however, wouldn't last forever as the 2000s rose, and the majority of the music from the new gen was garbage. Corporations that made products like the soda spray would soon capitalize on the newer gen of rap that fixated upon material items, women/sex, and drugs. Today, the popular form of rap is called quote-unquote mumble rap, which is exactly just that, behind a hard, banging beat. Music clearly degraded in the context of actual rap and lyricism. A comparison of degradation in the MGTOW YouTube community can be made similarly to rap music. In the early 2000s, MGTOW was made in separation from the MRA, being against marriage, and ideas of idealistic, lofty goals were being created. The first generation MGTOW were Zed the Zen Priest, Ragnar, Mikio, Angry Harry, Nice Guy, and others. Over time, these lofty and ideal ideas, like all male lands, took a backseat as the more pragmatic style of the man's everyday struggle became more the theme. Men like man-woman myth were the first of this time, second generation MGTOW. This theme remained as consistent with multiple great content uploaders like Barbar, Stardust, and Razorblade Candy began putting out content. More and more men were talking about the real-life hardships of divorce, paying alimony and child support, fighting depression, and being financially destitute. The core of what it meant to be MGTOW was finalized and cemented on a pragmatic, realistic approach of men bettering their suffering lives to retaining independence and being content with celibate life. Fast forward to 2015, third generation MGTOW and beyond. You now have the likes of these lazy, lousy lightweights like MGTOW 101, Angry MGTOW, and these re-upload channels that don't even produce any of their own videos. Some of these monetarily motivated channels have over 30,000 subs and haven't even been on YouTube for a single year. The evolution of MGTOW has gotten so bad that men are now discussing strategies as quote-unquote MGTOW on how to pursue relationships and pump and dump. Call them out on this mental disconnect, retardation, delusion, and stupidity, and they'll throw a fit trying to accuse you of trying to tell other men how to be MGTOW, and use manipulation trying to make you out to be the bad guy as they completely dismiss your legitimate arguments. Look at the hilarious mental gymnastics in the screenshot on the screen. I made a comment giving my 2 cents on a clown that makes videos in the community, and he went straight into the manipulation assertion of, MGTOW is not going the way you say, and then goes on to say the community would quote-unquote shrink if in actuality the plastic and fraudulent MGTOWs would lead. So this clown has just admitted that the community is ripe full of intellectually challenged people like him that don't fully understand the philosophy and even call it a quote-unquote a movement, or use MGTOW as a mating strategy to score and pick up women. This comic gets even better as he gets emotional, pushing an invalid assertion that MGTOW is in a general aspect quote-unquote negative because he got butthurt being made fun of for his sheer delusion and hilariously stupid content. All, of course, underneath the umbrella of MGTOW, like the rest of these fraudulent and plastic ilk people. The previous assertion of MGTOW supposedly being negative because of the lack of positivity is merely a cover to hide the bitter tears he's probably shed when this degenerated community had enough sense to ridicule him for his antithetical content. He pathetically ends his hilarious comment towards me, continually asserting his manipulative charge, assuming that I believe my interpretation of MGTOW is the only interpretation of MGTOW. Straw man much, buddy? Lastly, he tries to push his interpretation of what MGTOW is all while attacking mine. Hypocritical much? But I digress. Point 2. The concept of the word usurper may seem very strange to you, but in the instance of MGTOW, it fits with what's happening. The word usurp is a verb meaning to seize and hold, take the place of / occupy, or take over something using force or without authority. Now let me ask you some questions based off of this. Did you as an ordinary MGTOW agree to have the acronym co-opted and taken to support downright tribal and racist political ideology from the right wing? Do you agree to prominent MGTOWs like Angry Mangina reconceptualizing and redefining what MGTOW is for their personal financial monetary gain?
Angry MGTOW here, and you can now make donations to me using Bitcoin.
You can definitely hit up Discord also. You can find the link to my Discord on Patreon. You become a patron for as little as $1 to get the link to my Discord.
And lastly, do you as the viewer, community member, and subscriber of MGTOW content agree with prominent MGTOWs when they try to rewrite history by telling you what happened in the past through their faulty, inaccurate perspectives? If you said no to all three, then perhaps you can understand what I'm saying. It is clear as day that MGTOW has been co-opted by the alt-right in order to boost support for the political right wing. Why do you think politics is so overwhelmingly pushed and promoted in MGTOW, with talks of things like Donald Trump? The proof is right in the pudding. We already know there are numerous monetarily motivated people around here that would say whatever to further their personal financial gain. Ever think about the overwhelming amount of channels that have Patreon and PayPal links for their channels? Even small channels that don't even have 1,000 subscribers have a fucking Patreon link. Here's a good example of the parasitic, monetarily motivated usurper types I'm talking about.
You know, and this is like when women or even men make fun of the MGTOW movement, they're making fun of these guys that are either virgins and they've never been laid and they're just going, oh, I'm going ghost or whatever, and they've never been laid, or I'm going monk, or they've been burned really bad, but they fucking hate women, like they fucking hate them. And this guy sounds like...
Remember what I said earlier about trying to change concepts in order to further monetary gain? He definitely doesn't understand the MGTOW philosophy, to say the least. This drunken clown is a prime example of the monetarily motivated, money-hungry, and overzealous usurper I'm talking about. His desperate attempts at trying to accumulate coin from MGTOW are so pathetic that he could give Angry Mangina a run for his money. He doesn't even have 1,000 subs, and not only does he have a PayPal, but he even has private videos that he will, quote fingers, let you view for $20. Apparently, he thinks the surface-level ideological regurgitation in his intellectually dead content is so good that he's going to charge you $20 just to see them. This will make PUA 101, Sad Man, and all the other apathetic money whores blush harder than a schoolgirl. This is an example of what humanity looks like when it's been stripped of any and all human decency, dignity, and would go to such extreme lengths to whore themselves out for money. This greedy retard will make turd-flinging money proud and honored to be mentioned in the same sentence. If I had to summarize this kind of usurper in 2 words, I would say prostitute morality. So again, why I call these people usurpers is because they're constantly trying so hard to hijack the community, get it completely off course from the actual philosophy, and give you their bullshit version and perception of what MGTOW is that benefits their bottom line or agenda. You as a member of the MGTOW consensus never agreed to these strange third-party groups with agendas coming on over here. The legitimate MGTOW content creators like Messenger Rising, Uni MGTOW, Traversable, and Top Dollar aren't even the popular channels that hold the most influence. These channels represent similarly minded men that fully understand the philosophy and know what the tenets are. When you look at the search results, you see purely money-hungry individuals, re-upload channels that don't even make their own content, and political ideologues that could give a shit about MGTOW and only use the community as a support base. Then some people wonder why there's such a stark divide in school of thought and belief when it comes to MGTOW. The community is fractured because so many young and new males into MGTOW are getting their introduction to the philosophy from bad sources, false information, and then build the foundation of their MGTOW knowledge based upon delusions, falsities, bullshit, and accept the muddy interpretation of what the philosophy is. Think about this. Imagine a scenario where a generation of men already existed, majority being in their 30s and beyond. Imagine I ran one of these daily MGTOW channels that held 50 to 100 times more subscribers, influence, and recognition in the search algorithm than a vastly more honest, personable, and principled channel that uploaded weekly or monthly. My channel would be more than big enough to be a business, selling all the newer faces clueless about the philosophy some cheap, degraded, muddied repackage of the same content. Basically speaking, if I could convince all the newer males that my altered version of MGTOW was correct, that would possibly be an entire new generation believing MGTOW is my altered version in contrast to the actual one. This would mean intellectual conflict and strife among the community, thus creating a generational rift and division. Sad Man and the prominent MGTOWs know they play with fire on a daily basis, but do so merely to enrich their pockets at the detriment of somebody else. Point 3. You know what's even more sad? Let me tell you. They say history repeats itself. If you don't remember it, then you're doomed to repeat it. Well, in regards to MGTOW, I'd say this is very true. This isn't the first time parasites, political whoresons, and delusional males have tried to co-opt and take over MGTOW at all. I'm sure I'm not the first person to bring this up either, but during the early years of MGTOW, there were males during the early 2000s that weren't happy with the direction and the way MGTOW was going, as it will become cemented around abandoning politics, the MRA, and Activision. There were few that wanted MGTOW to be an isolated arm of the MRA, still fighting for rights, pushing for old-school religious marriage, and traditional gender roles. If none of you can connect the dots, then let me break it down for you. The entire quote-unquote MGTOW manifesto was a complete lie that was perpetrated by traditionalist men in the community. Ragnar, Solaris, and a dude named Nice Guy were among these people as they fabricated a lie. Not only did they try to distort reality and falsities, they even tried to change the history of the philosophy by saying this manifesto, in more blunt terms a lie, was the quote-unquote founding document of MGTOW. A site named No Ma'am also tried to help perpetrate this lie. The funny thing about this was that these people already acknowledged that the founding document was an essay named Ignoring Women by Zed the Zen Priest. As time went on, Nice Guy, Ragnar, and Solaris would realize they had only failed and that the foundation of MGTOW would be made based off of Zed the Zen Priest's work and Mikio's work, where he talked about how bullshit marriage was. In this video, we'll refer to the butthurt tradcons as first wave usurpers. The first wave usurpers would then go on to do an interview a decade later, crying and bemoaning that MGTOW had become anti-marriage and anti-traditionalism. Their pathetic attempts at distorting reality, shifting the narrative, and redefining the philosophy through their lens failed as the consensus spoke up and stood against them. Fast forward to the year 2017, and you now have the same battle for philosophy happening once again, but with some changes and additions. You have some of the same people from the first wave that want traditionalism and will not give up on the MRA. Then you have a few others among wanting to change the philosophy for political ideological reasons. These few are the vocal, toxic people that obsess over race, religion, and feminism. When you look around the community, you'll see many minds in this community mentally corrupted from this cancerous vocal group. Most usurpers, however, want to change MGTOW to thicken their wallets and bank accounts, from YouTubers that have over 30,000 to 80,000 subs, all the way down to some nobody that immediately has a Patreon account set up. The monetarily motivated usurper is everywhere. Its goal, desire, and endgame is to completely rewrite history of the community, change what the acronym means for good, and increase their personal wealth, as some channels already rake in 50,000 plus annually. So, there you have it. The actions, intentions, examples, and history of the usurper who actively seeks the redefinition of MGTOW for their personal gain or promotion of their motivations. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll have more content to come in the future. Anyway, Mortify out.